My name is Ernst van Jaarsveld. I'm a horticulturist here at Babylonstoren farm, and at this present time we are experiencing a lockdown. And so the gardens at Babylonstoren is closed to the general public, but it's such a beautiful day and we want to share some of the beautiful plant groups that we cultivate here at Babylonstoren. And we are sitting here in the Cycad garden. So South Africa are blessed with more than 40 species of cycads, and these cycads are very special plants. Most of them are on the brink of extinction. In fact, they should have been extinct. They used to be very common during the Juras and during the Cretaceous period, about 80 million years ago, when many of them were almost dominant. And they are, what makes them so special, they look like palms, but if you look more carefully, they are cone bearers. So they belong to a cone bearing group, which we call the gymnosperms. Now, this collection at Babylonstoren farm, we were very privileged to get almost all the South African species and the African species as well. So, and also here around me, behind me, is Encephalartus woodii from KwaZulu-Natal, and this plant is already extinct in nature. And it was only known from one population at the Ngoya forest growing on a granite dome among the granite rocks. And Medley Wood, who discovered it, brought it back. And the whole population consists only of male plants. So this is Encephalartos princeps. And this species is quite rare and only confined to one river valley, and that's the Kai River of the Eastern Cape. And most of the plants have got blue leaves, are extremely arid adapted, drought tolerant. But as humans, when we get too hot, we can at least move to shade. The poor plants can't. And how they do it, they've got a built-in sunscreen, in this case the bluish green leaves. And look what happens, if I rub it, I can rub off the sunscreen. And that protects the plant, it reflects the sun. It's a little wax layer on the plant, and many other plants, not only cycads have got this waxy layer, but many succulents from the same area do it as well. And that's why we plant many companion plants to these different plants. Cycads in South Africa are also known by the Afrikaans name broodboom. And one can ask ourselves, why the name bread tree or broodboom? Brood is bread. And it all stems from Thunberg. He was a Swede, and he and Francis Masson was sent from Kew and Thunberg from Sweden to come collect plants in the late 1700s. And they traveled together in the Eastern Cape. And as they were in the Eastern Cape area, they saw that the local Khoi women were busy cutting up the stems of this Encephalartos alpensteini, this common cycad. And I asked the woman, what on earth are you doing? They had a translator with them, and the woman explained to them, and they said, well, in times of famine, we eat the inner pulp, but cycads are extremely poisonous. So the pulp is very poisonous. And to get rid of the poisons, what we do is we will cut open the stem, and then we will knead the inner pulp, and then we will put it in a bag, and we will bury it for at least 2 to 3 months. And during this fermentation process, all the toxins are reduced and it's made palatable. And then after this process, we take it out of the soil, get this pulp from the bag. Women would knead it again, and then they will shape it in the form of a bread, put it on the fire, cut it up and eat it like a bread. Cycads grow in many habitats, even in the Afromontane and coastal forests of the eastern part of South Africa. And this is known as the poor man's cycad. It's a very common cycad. And as you can see, it differs from the other cycads. It doesn't have an exposed stem. The plant has got contractile roots, which pulls it down into the soil. Only occurs in forested, well-watered areas in thick shade. And this is a male plant at the moment, also coning. And you can see the slender cone of this male plant. The female plant, the female cone, it's much broader and shorter. But it's a very beautiful species which many people plant in their gardens because it's easy accessible, and also from nurseries throughout South Africa, and probably one of the most common of the cycads. So for any shady garden, this is an ideal plant to have in your garden. It's got a typical fern-like appearance, but it's a typical cycad, which belongs to the genus Encephalartos, and it's known as Encephalartos villosus, the poor man's cycad, or the bosbroodboom in Afrikaans, occurring in forested areas and humus-rich soils below trees usually.